Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're circling back to some ideas from Adam Repley. He runs the Practicing Truth YouTube channel.
Right. Many of you will know we cover his work quite a bit. It often connects with the philosophy of the divine law.
Exactly. And if that philosophy is something you want to explore more, beyondtherituals.com is the place to go. We've mentioned it before.
So the specific piece we're unpacking today is called The Power and Cost of Letting Go. And it really digs into that feeling, that friction when beliefs you've held on to just start to feel, well, maybe not true anymore.
Yeah, that little internal nudge, right? When
Yeah.
something you've always accepted suddenly feels off, a bit shaky.
Mm-hmm.
That's the space we're exploring today, that tension between the comfort of certainty and this growing sense of doubt.
Yeah, so over the next little while, we'll look at, why we hold on to beliefs so tightly in the first place.
And what happens inside when they start to fail us.
Right, and the difficult process of actually letting them go. And maybe most importantly, why some people make that really hard choice.
Even knowing the cost.
Yeah.
It's all about that personal journey towards, I guess, integrity, being honest with yourself.
Exactly. So, okay, let's dive in. Why do beliefs have such a hold? I mean, think about it. Personal beliefs, cultural ones, religious frameworks.
They give us so much, don't they? A sense of belonging, for one. Identity.
Yeah, identity, continuity.
Yeah.
This makes sense of that. It provides a worldview, a map.
A sense of meaning, direction. It's comforting.
Absolutely. And it gets woven so tightly into who we think we are. So questioning the belief can feel like you're dismantling yourself.
It feels dangerous almost. Threatening.
It really can, because it's not just abstract ideas floating around. It's tied to our place in the world, how we define ourselves, our connections.
Right. And that's the other thing. Letting go isn't just an internal shift, is it? It can seriously affect relationships.
Oh, definitely. Family, friends, your role in the community.
Your whole understanding of how life works, the explanations you've always relied on, it's a big deal. You can see why people hesitate.
For sure. But then there's that turning point Repley talks about. It often happens when those beliefs just stop working.
They don't deliver the comfort anymore. Or the answers feel thin.
Exactly. The explanations seem inadequate, maybe even contradict what you're actually experiencing, and that's when the search begins, looking beyond the usual places.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting, I think. For someone who starts to recognize what Repley calls a deeper truth about reality, that initial comfort we talked about, the safety of the belief system, it can actually start to feel constricting.
Right. It flips, doesn't it? What felt like a support structure starts feeling more like a cage.
That's a key point he makes, because recognizing a deeper truth, it brings this clarity that doesn't need constant propping up, unlike maybe illusions.
Illusions need faith, right? Constant reinforcement. But truth, once seen clearly, it just is.
And that illusion, once you see it as an illusion, stops feeling safe.
Yeah.
It becomes, like you said, a limitation, self-imposed one.
So that shift starts happening, but what does he actually mean by letting go here? It's not always about storming out and denouncing everything.
No, not necessarily. He's quite clear about that. It might not mean cutting off everyone you love or ditching every single tradition.
So what is it then?
It's more internal. It's about stopping the pretense. It's about refusing to act like you believe something when deep down you know you don't.
Okay. So it's that inner honesty.
Yes. Refusing to betray what you've come to understand is true, even if it makes things incredibly difficult.
Even if people misunderstand, or you feel isolated, or you actually lose connections because of it.
Exactly. It's a commitment to your own integrity above that external harmony sometimes.
And he makes that really strong point, too, that just going along with things you don't believe anymore, maybe to keep the peace, it's not humility.
He calls it dishonesty, right?
Yeah.
Internal dishonesty.
Yeah. Which can be really corrosive over time. It eats away at you.
So letting go, in this view, isn't just virtuous. It's framed as almost a responsibility to yourself, to the truth you see.
That does shift the perspective quite a bit. Okay, so if the comfort can turn into constraint and letting go is about integrity, why do so many people stay, even with doubts?
Well, he points to some pretty understandable reasons. Predictability, for one.
Knowing the rules, knowing what to expect, stability.
Right. And often there are, rewards for staying in line. Social acceptance is huge.
Community belonging, maybe even perceived spiritual benefits or status.
And just practically speaking, sharing beliefs smooth things over, doesn't it? Less social friction day to day.
It's definitely the easier path sometimes, less conflict.
But he argues there's a massive cost to that kind of containment, staying in that smoother lane.
Yeah, what is the cost, according to him?
Suppressing your own clarity, for one, having to constantly translate your real thoughts into acceptable language.
So inauthentic communication.
Basically, yeah, living a life that isn't quite aligned with what you know internally, always looking outside yourself for validation instead of trusting that inner compass.
And that disconnect, that constant pretending, it builds up.
It does, that initial comfort of fitting in. He says it eventually becomes this heavy thing, this burden of contradiction.
Because you're living one thing, but knowing another. Constantly. That sounds exhausting.
Which brings us right to the pain involved.
Yeah.
Because letting go, it's definitely not painless. He acknowledges that up front.
There's grief involved, right?
Oh, absolutely. Grief for the lost certainty, maybe. The potential for estrangement from people you care about.
Yeah, the collapse of shared meaning can be huge. Suddenly you're not on the same page anymore about really big things. And the rituals that used to comfort might feel empty.
And then there's how others might see you. Judgment. People might think you're arrogant for questioning or lost.
Or even dangerous sometimes. A threat to the group's cohesion.
Exactly. So the pain is real. But then Repley draws this stark contrast.
Between that pain and the pain of staying.
Precisely. He argues that the ongoing grinding pain of living a lie, of betraying your own understanding every single day, that's actually worse, more corrosive in the long run.
So it's like choosing between two types of pain, really.
That's how he frames it. The sharp, maybe temporary grief of letting go versus the dull, chronic ache of lifelong pretense.
And his point is that only one path, the honest one, even if it hurts initially, leads to actual freedom. Personal freedom.
Yeah, and a deeper sense of who you are. Alignment.
Okay, so given how hard it is, the potential fallout, what really pushes people over the edge to actually do it? What's the core motivation?
Well, Repley suggests most people probably won't let go. Even with doubts, the cost just feels too high.
Fear takes over. Fear of losing identity, community, belonging.
Right, that fear often outweighs the internal discomfort. So they stay, maybe not out of strong belief, but out of that fear of what happens if they leave the familiar path.
But some do leave that path. What's different for them?
For those individuals, he says, the discomfort of living within what they now see as an illusion just becomes unbearable. It outweighs the fear of loss.
It's like once you've seen it, you can't unsee it.
Exactly. He says something like that. The lie, once seen clearly, becomes too heavy to keep carrying.
So it's less an intellectual choice and more a necessity, a compulsion almost.
I think that's a good way to put it. The motivation isn't just finding a better idea or the truth in an abstract way. It's about needing to align with that truth to feel whole, to maintain integrity.
It's essential for becoming who you truly are, perhaps.
Yeah, so it's framed not as abandoning others, but as aligning with yourself, with what you perceive as real.
Okay. And how does this individual act connect to, say, the bigger picture, especially within that philosophy of the divine law framework?
Well, the idea there is that belief systems, no matter how big or established, they only keep going because people participate. They agree to uphold them.
Their objective truth is less important than the collective agreement.
In terms of their persistence, yes. So one person deciding to step back, to stop participating based on their own discernment, it might seem small.
But Repley argues it still has an effect.
He does. While one person won't topple a whole system, consistently refusing to play along with what you know isn't true, it chips away at its power over time, especially if it's done from a place of real clarity, not just rebellion.
And the philosophy of the divine law, as we've discussed before, it's not really about organizing mass movements or anything like that, is it?
No, not at all. Its focus is very much on individual integrity. That quiet personal commitment to living in accordance with the truth you understand. It doesn't really look for external validation.
So the path for someone who lets go might feel lonely sometimes.
It might, but the driving force isn't external reward or applause. It's the pull of truth itself, that inner necessity we talked about.
So wrapping this up, this deep dive into Adam Repley's ideas really highlights that letting go of beliefs that no longer serve you is, well, it's a profound undertaking.
Deeply personal. Often challenging, but driven by that need for inner honesty once you glimpse a deeper reality.
Yeah, and it forces you to weigh things up, doesn't it? That temporary, maybe sharp pain of loss against the sort of slow, grinding pain of living inauthentically.
It really does. So maybe a thought for you listening. Where in your own life might the sheer comfort of the familiar be, perhaps subtly, holding you back holding you back from a clearer understanding, or maybe just feeling more whole?
What might it look like for you to prioritize that inner clarity, even knowing it might stir things up a bit?
Just something to ponder. And remember, this discussion was sparked by The Power and Cost of Letting Go by Adam Ripley.
All connected to the philosophy of the divine law. And again, if you want to explore that further, check out beyondtherituals.com.
Thanks so much for joining us on this deep dive today. We hope it gave you some food for thought.